Good to have you back. This is the South African Morning. Now, investors have pledged billions of rands to the country. This during the 4th investment conference held in Sandton yesterday. Pharmaceutical company Pfizer is one of the companies planning to invest further in the country. But I'm now joined by Pfizer's Global Vice President, Patrick van der Loo, to talk about the benefits of multinationals investing in South Africa. Patrick, a pleasure having you in studio. Thank you so much for your time. How was the investment conference overall for you yesterday?
It was very interesting for us because what we have been doing in South Africa, I think what we've seen yesterday is how it fits in the president's bigger picture. And as I was mentioning to you earlier before, we see that message of the president of increasing the investment and getting South Africa back to work following the pandemic has really landed with all stakeholders in that community that were there yesterday.
Yeah, and what's the importance of multinationals coming for a common goal and implementing on that goal?
Well, exactly. And I think that's where, if I take a step back, we started our collaboration in South Africa with the BioVac Consortium 8 years ago. And I think building up during that time in skills development for South African talent, building out that organization, we started with a group of 30 people. We're now at the end of this year at 500 people, creating the employment and creating the capabilities and skill sets. I think, I know that story from our experience, but it was great to see that with other multinationals yesterday in that organization as well. Yeah,
and speaking of Pfizer, your commitment, your investment, quite notable. What's the impact do you foresee, and what's the significance, rather, of your investment to the country as a pharmaceutical company?
Right, I think, that goes here in South Africa. You have the Department of Science and Innovation, right? Pfizer is an innovative pharmaceutical company. We drive innovation. We don't drive generic products, but we drive basically what the future of biotechnology in South Africa can be. And our collaboration with the BioVac Institute in this case really is manufacturing mRNA vaccines, which are the latest and greatest vaccines in the world, basically, coming to South Africa. And the BioVac Institute manufacturing 100 million doses a year of mRNA vaccine in South Africa for Africa.
Yeah. Does that demonstrate investor confidence in the country? Or, I mean, when we see companies like Pfizer as well as other multinationals that we saw yesterday committing as well, does that drive investor confidence to South Africa, do you think?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And the government has made it very clear that they're here for us to remove barriers, to remove roadblocks. We've seen in our sector, specifically when you look at the regulatory authorities, South Africa was, quite frankly, horrible in the past to get a product approved. Right now, SAPRA and the way that the authorities go about the process, they're very approachable, they're very open, and they do everything to make sure that innovation can thrive in South Africa.
I think if there's one thing South Africans are hoping to see out of just the number of, in terms of currency and investment seen as accountability, they want to have confidence in both investors and in South Africa to deliver on the mandate of the investment conference. How much of accountability is important to be taken into consideration in times like this?
No, I think that is a very good point, because the president made it clear yesterday also that some of the commitments that were made in previous years because of the pandemic have not played out completely yet. The commitment that we made yesterday, which was 255 million rand on top of the over 600 million that we've already invested, we're investing now. We're scaling up the factory now. We went from 90 manufacturing staff to 270 manufacturing staff in a matter of months to get ready to do the work that we need to do. So I think it's important. These pledges are important, but executing on them in the short term to get South Africa back to work also is even more important.
Absolutely. And we also heard from French ambassador yesterday saying investments need to be long-term. They need to be sustainable. They need to create jobs. I'm sure you're sharing the same sentiments there as Pfizer.
No, absolutely, because we started with the BioVac Consortium, like I said, 8 years ago. And we've been building, and it's the sustainability beyond the pandemic and making sure that this technology can be applied more broadly in South Africa for Africa. That's what we're aiming for.
All right, Patrick, well, I appreciate your time. I know it's your first time in the country. Hopefully you're enjoying your stay.
Wonderful.
Right? Try the food. Amazing.
All right,
thank you so much, Patrick, for joining us right here on the South African Morning. Pfizer's Global Vice President, Patrick van der Loo, telling us, of course, about Pfizer's commitment in investments and the experience, of course, from yesterday's investment conference. So,